Hello everybody, Jennifer here with a little potential cat dog spat in the background and some birds getting fresh air after a shower. So I was given some information and an analogy I would like to share with you, and as always, if it resonates with you, great, take what resonates, and if it doesn't, don't. What I'm going to talk about today is being part of the flow, and I've spoken about that before. What the analogy that they gave me was an explanation of where we're going as opposed to where we've been. And when I asked there was a lot of information coming in yesterday morning with meditation, and I was, the old part of me wanted to write it all down so that, when I go back in 6 months or 6 years' time, I would, either chuckle or say, oh, that's where I was then. And it kept, the information that would come in, these aha pieces of information, would come through, and then they would go as soon as they would come through. I'm like, that's no good. I'm not going to be able to remember this. And I was reminded that when we are relaxed or part of the flow and not hampered by anything, everything is available to us. Everything that we would ever want to know just comes when we need it. And I said, well, that's fine and dandy. You want me to share that with people? Give me some kind of an analogy to go with this. And what they showed me was a capacitor. Now, when I was growing up, my youngest brother was studying electronics technology, and he would build circuit boards at home as part of his study, I suppose. And he would have these pretty little capacitors that were like little clay. They had 2 wires sticking out, and the middle was a little clay cylinder that was painted different colors. And I guess the colors had to do with the either amperage or something to do with the juice that these things could hold. And I used to like to make little rings out of the capacitors. And the capacitor said, well, okay, so why are you giving me that? And I called my brother and asked him for his explanation of capacitors. And what he said was, they can hold electricity, or they hold energy. Direct and hold energy. And the other picture that they gave me, or the other part of that analogy, was a crystal. So there's the capacitor, which holds energy, and the crystal, which amplifies and directs energy in a certain way. And different crystals have different properties that can be used in bigger applications for directing energy a certain way. So 20 years ago now, I guess, I bumped into a fellow who had a company down in Victoria that would make synthetic crystals. And I saw some of these, and they were, the biggest one I saw was the size of it was faceted, and it was as big as almost as a goose egg. And at that point, they didn't have all the bugs worked out of the system. So in order to condense what they had to condense to make this form, it was an extremely volatile process. And they would regularly have explosions in the lab where he worked, and, they'd have to start over from scratch again. So that was a while ago. Hopefully they've worked out the bugs and nobody's been hurt in the process. But he was making a significant chunk of change, making these synthetic crystals for manufacturing applications, not for making jewelry or anything. So the capacitor would hold on to energy, and a crystal allows it to flow and be amplified. And when I asked the question, when I was given all the information in meditation, and I said, well, how am I going to retain this? And they said, be part of the flow. They gave me an example of all the things for me that hold on to my energy, or that I hold on to, because any kind of any kind of holding that we have, whether it's an addiction to something like sugar for me or chocolate, whatever it is something that keeps us out of flow, which is the access of all information, all prosperity, wealth, abundance, health, love, joy, all the good stuff. Anything that we hang on to tightly keeps us out of the flow. So that's what they showed me and said that they wanted it shared. And the other thing that came this morning was to share with you what I'm experiencing. Because we're going to a place whereby the flow, if we want to access all these other beautiful gifts that we've always had but just didn't know, like telepathy and my girlfriends and I call it bubble packs, opening of information and just knowing, that makes life easier. Health, all of that is available to us, and all we need to do is ask when we're ready for it. When we're ready to receive, we just ask and it shows up. Ask before bed. I've done other videos about the asking before. So stay in the flow. The way those things are showing up for me now, today, and yesterday, as of the this new bit came in for me on the 10th of October, which is some kind of portal. And yesterday, I noticed it more yesterday, and again today it's happening, that when I wake up in the morning, I can visualize, I can imagine and see something that I want to create, like a walk to the beach or what? Something for the house, and all of a sudden it shows up in one way or another. The different thing that's happening now is it's a spontaneous thing. In other words, it happens by itself. When I realize I'm not sleeping anymore, but before I get up or before I open my eyes, I'm getting pictures, I'm getting scenes. And the scenes are like, the pictures in the Harry Potter movies where it's like a movie being shown in a frame where it's actually a live process. It's not stagnant. That's what I got yesterday morning. And there was scene after scene after scene, not quickly coming together, but it started with looking out through a set of rocks and looking at a seal head above the water. And the seal's moving. And I'm wondering how it's being shown to me, but I wondered at the time, well, is this something that needs to communicate with me, or is there some kind of interaction I need to do with it? But it was just, at the time, it was just something I witnessed. And there were several that came like that. It has not happened for me yet through the day, but yesterday morning it started, and that's when I was given this information to share with you about not holding tightly, to allow, so that you can allow the flow. And those scenes happened again this morning when I woke up. I'm also noticing that people are, there's astral projection, I've been able to do that and talk to people on the other side. And now I am, if before I say something, someone can say to me, "What did you say?" And I didn't say anything out loud. It was all mental. And that's how that's part of how telepathy works. So there's a whole raft of new skills opening up for everybody, and it is normal, completely normal. The energies, the dense energies that wanted to keep us under something's thumb, that it was not there, it wasn't for the benefit of the few, for us to know what we're capable of, those days are done. It's gone. And as we're ready, as we each ask our own crew, we're going to be given bits and pieces. It's not all going to come in one dump, but what's coming, if it feels like loving energy, it's from Source. We are all from Source. Any darkness is just bits and pieces of us that's left, that has to be looked at, and then as soon as we watch it and see it, just let it go. Ask for whatever you want, and know that if we're holding on to something, it's probably keeping us from the good stuff that's coming. Okay. If you have any questions, ask your crew. you all have a huge support network that's just sitting around twiddling their thumbs, waiting to be asked.